mas pinalakas na pagbabalita, komentaryong walang mintis, iba't ibang entertainment. Radyo natin to! Radyo natin to!
He is coping, Representative Paulo Marcoleta says of detained father. South China Sea must remain sea of peace and cooperation, Marcos says. If Batans are Filipinos, Batanes lawmaker reiterates over China's claim. Colmenares hits China's claim over Batanes as latest territorial escalation. Ma'am Aquino 6 Senate probe into high rising power bills. CBCP says let rule of law decide VP Sara impeachment case. Zuleika Lopez may appear before impeachment court on July 13, spokesperson says. And Lacson says Estrada ruling may render Cayetano motion on detained senators moot. This and more on Newsline Weekend. Reporting live from Radyo Natin headquarters, I'm Raymond Kaibigan. Newsline Weekend begins right now. And for those of you watching on Facebook and on YouTube, glad you could join us today, topping the weekend news. Sagip Party List Representative Paulo Marcoleta said his family continues to visit his father, Senador Rodante Marcoleta, every day while the senator remains in detention at the PNP General Hospital in Camp Crame, Quezon City. Police took custody of the senator who is facing plunder and graft charges earlier this week. This has been a difficult situation, and we have made sure we visit him daily as much as we can to show our love and support, the Solon says. He added the police have been treating his father well. The lawmaker added that he was waiting to see whether his father would send a message to participants of the rally. He might send a message or letter later for the people who came to this gathering. Representative Marcoleta attended the gathering but clarified that he had no official role in the event. I am just here to support this gathering. I wanted to see how the rallyists are doing. He said he also wanted to personally join fellow Filipinos participating in the protest and offer them moral support. Marcoleta also echoed the rally's call for accountability over alleged corruption, particularly in flood control projects. Hindi po natatapos yan hanggat hindi po talaga nalalagay sa hustisya ang mga totoong may sala sa pinakamalaking korupsyon sa ating bansa. The congressman's father is in legal trouble over 75 million pesos that he had not disclosed in his statement of contributions and expenditures for the 2025 elections. He also disclosed that Senator Marcoleta's legal team has filed motions related to the cases against him. In other news, the disputed but resource-rich South China Sea must never become an arena of conflict and should instead remain a sea of peace, cooperation, and connectivity. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said on Friday, as the Philippines marked the 10th anniversary of its landmark 2016 arbitral award on the West Philippine Sea. Speaking at Conrad Manila in Pasay City, where he hosted a diplomatic reception for the anniversary of the historic ruling, Marcos called on stakeholders, including governments, envoys, and Filipinos, to build on the legacy of the award and uphold the rule of law in pursuing regional peace and stability. We hold a simple but unwavering conviction the South China Sea must never be an arena of conflict, Marcos said. It must remain a sea of peace, cooperation, and connectivity, a body of water that sustains livelihoods, fosters trade, protects marine biodiversity, and unites rather than divides our nations, he added. The president said lasting peace in the region could only be achieved if it was anchored on justice, mutual respect, and equality among nations. He said Manila pursued the arbitration 13 years ago because it believed in a rules-based international order. We did so because we possessed an unwavering faith in a rules-based international order. For the rule of law is a great equalizer of all nations, Marcos said, adding, it ensures that the right is not defined by might, that justice is never dictated by the relative size of a nation's territory, military, or economic power. Meanwhile, Batanes Representative Siriaco Gato Jr. on Friday expressed grave concern over the claims made during an academic symposium in China that Batanes was a natural geographical extension of Taiwan with its sovereignty supposedly belonging to China. Batanes is a province of the Republic of the Philippines. The Ibatans are Filipinos. These are enduring truths established by history, affirmed by our constitution and laws, and embodied in the identity and collective experience of our people, Gato said. He said the Philippines' sovereignty over Batanes was beyond dispute. We treat any insinuation that seeks to question or undermine the absolute sovereignty of the Republic of the Philippines over our islands with utmost gravity, he said. Any challenge to our status is not merely a geopolitical provocation, it is an affront to our identity that we will not tolerate, the lawmaker said. We have always known who we are. Our allegiance is to the Republic of the Philippines, now and always, Gato stressed. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, on Friday dismissed as baseless the claims by the Chinese academics that Batanes belong to China. The DFA said it will not entertain revisionist claims over Philippine territory and urged the scholars to devote their efforts to genuine good faith studies of the region. According to Sea Light, participants at the symposium in China contended that the Philippines lacked a historical and legal basis for administering Batanes, describing the island as a natural extension of Taiwan and asserting that sovereignty over them belonged to China through its claim to the self-governed island. Meanwhile, former Bayan Muna Representative Nery Corminares on Friday said stability in the Asia-Pacific region would remain impossible as long as China continued to advance its supposed baseless and excessive claims that would only inflame tensions among claimant nations. Walang peace and stability sa region habang patuloy ang China sa kanilang baseless at excessive claims na nagpapainit ng relasyon sa mga claimant countries, Colmenares said. He said the claims by the supposed China academics that Batanes was part of China through Taiwan marked another escalation in the pattern of lawfare aimed at systematically expanding Beijing's territorial footprint with regard for international law or the sovereignty of the neighboring states. Ang bawat bagong claim ay patunay na walang katapusan ang ambisyon ng China sa rehiyon, he said. Habang tayo ay sumasandig sa diplomasya at international law, patuloy silang umaagaw ng ating lupa. Ito ay hindi lamang isang territorial dispute. Ito ay isang systematic campaign na naglalayong baguhin ang political geography ng buong Southeast Asia, he added. According to Colmenares, the Philippines could not rely solely on diplomatic channels or international legal mechanisms, while China continued to use military presence, academic lawfare, and state-sponsored claims to consolidate control over disputed territories. Kailangan ng unified response mula sa lahat ng claimant states at ng international community, the former lawmaker said. Colmenares called for stronger maritime security, economic development in disputed areas, and strategic coordination with other Southeast Asian nations to counter China's alleged expansionist agenda. Habang walang peace sa region, walang development, walang pag-unlad para sa ating mga mamamayan, he added. Kailangan nating harapin ng direkta ang problema, hindi itago sa ilalim ng diplomatic necessities. Coming up next on Newsline Weekend. Aquino 6 Senate probe into high and rising power bills. CP says, let rule of law decide VP Sara impeachment case. Zuleika Lopez may appear before impeachment court on July 13, a spokesperson says. Lacson says Estrada ruling may render Cayetano motion to detain the senators moot. More news coming your way when Newsline Weekend returns. Keep it here on Radyo Natin To 1035. Still tuned in to Radyo Natin To Newsline Weekend. I'm Raymond Kaibigan. Senator Aquino on Friday pushed for an investigation into the high and rising cost of electricity in the country, saying it places a heavy burden on low and middle income families and micro, small, and medium enterprises. On Thursday, Aquino filed Senate Resolution number 508, directing the appropriate Senate committee to probe into the country's high power bills and review existing energy laws and policies to identify reforms that will provide more affordable, reliable, and sustainable power for Filipino consumers. In the resolution, Aquino noted that the Philippines has consistently recorded among the highest electricity prices in Southeast Asia, hampering economic growth, burdening Filipino families and MSMEs and raising serious concerns about the efficiency, competitiveness, transparency, and overall performance of the country's electric power sector. Bakit ang Pilipinas ang isa sa may pinakamahal na kuryente sa Southeast Asia? Kailangan ng malaman ng punot dulo ng isyong ito na nagbibigay ng mabigat na pasanin sa ating mga kababayan, he said. Sa halip na magamit ang kanilang pinaghirapang pera sa pagkain, gamot at iba pang pangangailangan, napupunta lang ito sa pambayad ng napakamahal na kuryente, the senator added. The resolution also seeks a comprehensive review of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act and other related energy policies to determine whether legislative reforms are necessary to better protect consumers and strengthen the electric power sector. Small businesses also struggle to earn a profit and provide additional jobs due to the exorbitant electricity costs imposed on them, Aquino lamented. With consumers continuing to bear various charges reflected in their monthly electricity bills, the senator further stressed the need to ensure that electricity pricing remains transparent, reasonable, reflective of actual costs, and consistent with just and prudent industry and regulatory practices. Ensuring affordable electricity must likewise be balanced with maintaining adequate generation capacity, strengthening grid resilience, modernizing transmission infrastructure, accelerating the adoption of renewable energy and resources, and enhancing the country's long-term energy security and climate resilience, Aquino emphasized. Meralco electricity rose by 35 centavos per kilowatt hour in July, driven by higher generation charges, transmission costs, and Malampaya plant maintenance. This raises the monthly bill for a typical household consuming 200 kilowatt per hour by approximately 68 pesos. In other news, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines on Friday said it was closely watching the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, stressing that the proceedings should be allowed to run their course under the 1987 Constitution. Bishop Jose Colin Bagaforo said the bishops continued to view the impeachment proceedings as an important constitutional process. We are closely monitoring the impeachment trial. Our position remains unchanged. This impeachment trial is important, Bagaforo said after CBCP's plenary assembly in Sinacaban, Misamis Occidental. Let the impeachment process take its course. Let the rule of law render its own verdict, he added. The bishop clarified that the CBCP was not siding with or against Duterte. This is not a condemnation of the vice president. What we are upholding is the Constitution and the rule of law, he said. The church advocates for nothing other than justice. This also serves as a reminder to public officials to be accountable, Bagaforo added. The Senate Impeachment Court began hearing the case against Duterte this week over 4 articles of impeachment that include allegations of misuse of confidential funds, unexplained wealth, bribery, and grave threats against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and late Representative and former Speaker Martin Romualdez. Meanwhile, Senate Impeachment Court spokesperson lawyer Reggie Tonggol expects Vice President Sara Duterte's Chief of Staff Zuleika Lopez to testify on Tuesday, July 14, but said she must be ready to appear on Monday as well. Pinapatawag siya base doon sa subpoena na inilabas ng 2 araw. So dapat kung na-receive niya yon, baka pumunta siya ng Lunes, Tonggol said in an online press briefing on Friday. Kung hindi man siya makapunta ng Lunes, meron pa siyang Tuesday para makapunta at humarap sa impeachment court, he added. Impeachment court presiding officer Senator Francis Escudero earlier ordered Lopez to testify before the tribunal on July 13 and 14. The senator issued the order after the House prosecution panel requested her appearance to identify and authenticate evidence, especially regarding the grave threat article of the impeachment case against the vice president. Tonggol, meanwhile, confirmed that Lopez will still not take the witness stand on Monday even if she arrives early, as National Bureau of Investigation Regional Director Jeremy Lontok remains the primary witness for that day. If Lopez, along with other invited witnesses, fails to appear before the impeachment tribunal, they will face legal repercussions. Tonggol also clarified that Duterte's longtime trusted aide will not automatically be treated as an adverse witness upon her arrival. And finally, Senator Panfilo Lacson on Friday said the Senate impeachment court may no longer need to intervene over whether detained senators could attend Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial after the Sandigan Bayan rejected Senator Jinggoy Estrada's request for temporary leave. Lacson said the ruling could effectively resolve a pending proposal by Senator Alan Peter Cayetano asking the impeachment court to formally request the anti-graft court to allow Estrada and Marcoleta to participate in the proceedings. That would spare the impeachment court from acting on the pending motion, which may impliedly suggest that we are interfering with an ongoing judicial process, Lacson said in a statement. He stressed, however, that the matter remained for the senator judges to deliberate on, calling his position his humble opinion. Sandigan Bayan denied Estrada's request for temporary leave from detention, ruling that his participation in the impeachment trial did not justify his release. The issue arose after impeachment court presiding officer Francis Escudero reiterated that 16 votes were needed to convict Duterte. Estrada and Marcoleta remained in detention while facing separate plunder case and graft case before the Sandigan Bayan. A quick roundup of today's headlines. He is coping, Representative Marcoleta says of detained father. South China Sea must remain sea of peace and cooperation, President Marcos says. Viva Tanser Filipinos, Batanes lawmaker reiterates over China's claim. Ordinaris hits China's claim over Batanes as latest territorial escalation. Bam Aquino 6 Senate probe into high rising power bill. CBCP says let rule of law decide VP Sara impeachment case. Zuleika Lopez may appear before the impeachment court on July 13, spokesperson says. Lacson reiterated Estrada ruling may render Cayetano motion on detained senators moot. And those are the source making headlines today, July 11, 2026. For Newsline Weekend, I'm Raymond Kaibigan. Keep it here on Radyo Natin To. Rise and Shine Weekend Special Edition will come your way after.
Mas pinalakas na pagbabalita, komentaryong walang mintis, iba't ibang entertainment. Radyo Natin To! Radyo Natin To!